Hello everybody, I'm Sniping is Fun, and in a series of videos I'm going to be bringing you guys today, it's going to be my overview, my final thoughts on the various E3 conferences that happened earlier this week. Everybody else online has basically already given their thoughts the days of or shortly thereafter. I wanted to wait until I actually got some time to actually record these, which is today, which also gave me more time to think about the conferences to an extent and so on and so forth. So you're going to be seeing three sets of videos today. Three different videos today. This video you're going to be watching now is going to be my thoughts on both the Microsoft and Sony E3 conference from Monday. The next video is going to be basically EA and Ubisoft's from Monday. And the final video will be my thoughts from Nintendo's conference back on Tuesday. But yes, that's it. I just want to give an overview thoughts on these things. I plan on doing it, and I just was holding off to the point where when I actually had time to, which is basically today. And here we go. Let's start off. I'm going to basically, I have these all written down on little note cards, the games that all these companies have shown off, because I think if I didn't do it like this, I probably would have forgotten about majority of the games shown off, because some of them were various games that you would more likely want to just pass over and forget about easily. So I made sure I could write down what I was able to write down, so I could at least remember to an extent. I'm going to start off with Microsoft's conference. I didn't get to see the way beginning of their conference. I came in a little bit later, but I do know when they started off, they showed off what was basically coming out the rest of this year for the Xbox 360. I didn't really get to see what they actually shown on that, because right when I came in was basically when they were finishing that off. So there's that. But when they started showing stuff for Xbox One, the first game I do recall them showing was Rise, Son of Rome, which it's basically like a ancient war type game set in, like, ancient Rome kind of a thing, like that kind of setting. And in my opinion, that setting actually is a really interesting setting that could actually work to make an actual great game. That actually is an interesting setting for a game to play. But the gameplay was kind of hit and miss. It was a little bit interesting, but kind of repetitive to an extent. And I was watching this on game trailers, and there were a lot of people actually in the comment section of that conference that actually thought almost the same thing. They thought it was boring and repetitive, and also the button mashing, like the button mashing kind of stuff, like the button pressing there was kind of there's a lot of stuff they showed there that people were asking complaints on. It wasn't entirely bad, but it's not one of those games that I think are going to stand out to a lot of people. The setting, in my opinion, is what makes it interesting. The actual game itself and gameplay and what we were shown at E3, that is kind of hit and miss, but it's also the first time I showed it off, so maybe it would look more interesting later on. I can't really say so myself, but I will admit at least the setting of it is interesting. And then I didn't get the actual full name for this next game, that Max, the side-scrolling platforming type game. It kind of looked a little bit like a Boy Meets Blob on the Wii, just a little bit more colorful. A classic 2D platforming game like Rayman Legends or the Mario games, New Super Mario Bros. Games and whatnot. It did look really interesting, and I think I forgot if that's a retail game or if it's a download. It probably is a download, but I have to admit that game actually looked pretty fun. And then they showed World of Tanks, which is World of Tanks. I really don't know much about World of Tanks, but it looked like it was like online multiplayer stuff like that. They showed it could be an interesting game. Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac. It looks kind of like Team Fortress type of a game. Like, it's a very artsy, very artistic, like not realistic, very, like a certain style to it. They didn't really show gameplay. It was basically a trailer. And I think this was one of the top games they had at their conference. It actually looked kind of fun, like it would be a fun game. And it's Insomniac, and they did Spyro. They've done Ratchet and Clank. They make good games. And then we see the return of Killer Instinct, which I think was it's interesting to see the return of this series. I've only barely played the Super Nintendo one. A lot of people say it looks a lot like Super Street Fighter 4, like Street Fighter 4 in general, the gameplay, and it kind of does, but it still looks like it'd be a fun fighting game. And then they also have Minecraft coming to Xbox One as well, just like the 360 version. That could be interesting. Quantum Break, which I think they just had a trailer on that. It looked kind of like it would be a shooter or something. I can't really say so much on that. Like where they stop time. I think that's that one where they stop time. That looks like it could be kind of interesting. Forza 5 was shown, which actually looked really interesting. You know, for Forza, you know, the realistic racing sim could be, I guess, fun. I mean, the only Forza game I ever played was the first one on the original Xbox, and it was actually really fun. And it looks like they're tossing like the drive-a-tar and all that stuff in this one. It looks like it could be an interesting game. I just haven't played the last 3 to really see how much they've improved. I think they ended up showing stuff on Metal Gear Solid 5 as well. I didn't see that part though, but I think they mentioned that early on. They talked about a game called D4, which at this point I can't even remember what it was about. Sorry about that, but they showed a game called D4. I think it was just a little trailer. Now, Project Spark, it was basically this game where you could basically create your own worlds and like make your own little like story kind of to it, and like you're basically in full customization. That was one of the highlights for me because that actually looks like it would be really fun. Dead Rising 3 is coming. I think they said it was exclusive to Xbox One, but I'm not fully sure. Like the first one was. But that actually looked like it was a little bit interesting. It looks like people have said it looks darker than like the last ones. I've only played the first one on the Wii. That was about it. In the demo, the first one I think on that 360. So, but it actually is it looks like it would be fun, like very wide open world type of a game. A ton of zombies. Crimson Dragon, which I think is from the people who made Panzer Dragoon. I think Sega or something like that made that. I don't know if that's exclusive or not, but I didn't get to see all of that trailer. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the next Witcher. It looks like it would be an interesting type of game, but I've never played any of those to really give my full thoughts on what the series is like. Battlefield 4 Second Assault, which I think is DLC, and I'm not fully sure about that, but it's Battlefield. There was a game called Below, which reminded me visually of like Bastion, the game Bastion. It looked kind of interesting. The Black Tusk Studio game, which kind of reminded me of Siphon Filter in a sense. There would be a new Halo coming in 2014. It wasn't even announced as Halo 5. It might not even be Halo 5. It might be a different title, different name, like, you know, Halo ODST or, you know, Halo Wars or something. You know, it's going to be like maybe a subtitle game. I don't know. And they end their conference with Titanfall, which is from EA, and I think it's exclusive to the Xbox One. So yeah, there's that, and that looked interesting. It's like giant mechs, and it's like basically it was a first or third person shooter, like with giant mechs. I didn't really pay much attention to that at the end of the Microsoft trailer, but it looked interesting to a certain extent. And we find out that the Xbox One's coming out in November of this year, and it's going to be coming out for $499.99, like for basically $500. And overall, my thoughts on Microsoft's conference. I think they had a lot of interesting stuff to show, really, when it wasn't really a bunch of these first and third person shooter games, which Microsoft's kind of known for now. But in my opinion, the games that stood out most to me and were the most interesting games they've shown off: Sunset Overdrive, Killer Instinct, Project Spark, Dead Rising 3, and that Max platforming game. I think those are like the most interesting games I think I've seen from them. But I think pros, they had a little bit of variety there, and they had a pretty good showing. They didn't focus like anywhere else. Like they didn't really go too much in depth on features and whatnot, at least from what I've seen. Negative moments, the price, and also the fact that I wouldn't say it's a negative. I think it's a pro for them because they wanted to focus so much on the game, so that all that stuff when they originally showed the Xbox One, all those negative things they announced about being almost always online, no used games, stuff like that. I think they wanted to try to stay away from that, but that could be both a pro and a con because they were trying to show all these games to get people hyped over, but yet they didn't talk about these other things which were basically in the back of everyone's mind. all these negative moments. So yeah, you're getting a good system with a lot of good games, because it looks like there's a lot of good stuff coming out for it, but then you have to also put up all these negative aspects, and that's kind of bad, especially when you don't focus on it. And also the price point. Pricing it that high is going to hurt them quite a bit, especially for the negative aspects of that system. Now, as for Sony's conference, they basically, just like Microsoft, started off with their current system, the PS3. They started off with The Last of Us, showed more on that, and I think they showed multiplayer, I'm not fully sure. They showed a game called Puppeteer, which was basically, I forgot exactly what that was, but I think it kind of had an interesting concept with, I think it was like puppet-based, I forgot now. Then they went on a game called Rain, which I actually forgot what that's about. And then Beyond Two Souls, they went more in depth on that game. They showed a lot more in depth on that game, like story-wise and gameplay to an extent in that trailer. Gran Turismo 6, which should be coming out for the PS3. And I think they detailed a little more on Batman Arkham Origins, or I think it was just a trailer, I'm not fully sure on that. And they talked about Grand Theft Auto 5, and that was basically, I think, it for the PS3 section. Then there was a game called The Order, which I can't exactly remember what it was, but I think it was some kind of shooter. And then they showed Killzone Shadowfall, which, it's Killzone, I never played a Killzone game, so I have no idea. The series looks interesting, but I'm not entirely sure on that. Drive Club, which is basically just a racing game, and Infamous Second Son. I like the Infamous series. I haven't played the second one yet, but I have played the first one. It actually is quite fun. Maybe because since I'm so much into like superhero type stuff. It's basically like that outcast superhero, the anti-hero kind of a thing. It does look kind of fun. Knack, which is I forgot. I think it's like a platformer or something like that. The Dark Sorcerer, which did have a pretty hilarious trailer with the old man. That's where that old man face was from. The Witness and Transistor, which I can't remember what those games are about, I'm sorry. They went into a lot of indie games, such as Don't Starve, Octodad, Raised Dead, Outlast, the new Oddworld, New and Tasty, and Galaxy. Diablo 3 is getting the PlayStation 4 release as well. We heard about Final Fantasy 15, and around that time my computer turned right off. I didn't get to see the rest of Final Fantasy. And then I come back on later, and guess what they also show? Kingdom Hearts 3! I missed Kingdom Hearts 3's debut trailer. They showed up the new Destiny game, and Elder Scrolls Online, and stuff like that. And they basically said that the PS4 would be $399, which shocked a lot of people, actually. Which shocked a lot of people, was $399, and that actually was a big pro at conference. And it blows Microsoft's price point out the water. Pros of this one, they had a good list of games. I don't think as much variety as Microsoft, which is kind of crazy. In my opinion, I think I liked a little bit more stuff that stood out to me from Microsoft's conference. Except that, of course, Kingdom Hearts 3, the new Infamous Second Son, Final Fantasy 15, which I didn't get to see the entire trailer of, and the price point. The negative aspects, I think they actually announced about the whole online being pay to play and stuff like that, but I think there were more pros than cons for Sony's, but there was about a little bit more about balance, I think, for Microsoft. And that's basically my opinion on those two conferences. And I'll see you guys in the EA and Ubisoft video. See you later.